You know, there's a specific kind of linguistic trap that I think we all fall into eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it usually happens when you're watching the news, or maybe you're just scrolling through your inbox looking at a terrifyingly complex chain of emails from HR.
I think I know where you're going with this.
We look at the chaos, we look at the nightmare, and we reach for an adjective. And usually we grab one of two words. We say, "This is Orwellian." Or we say, "This is Kafkaesque."
And I would bet that 9 times out of 10, the person using those words is using them interchangeably.
Completely.
They're basically they're synonyms for bad government stuff or a system I don't like.
Exactly. It's the adjective trap. And that is exactly where we are starting today. We are going to unpack that confusion. We are going to separate those two dystopias. And then we are going on a serious deep dive into the mind of Franz Kafka. Because the more we looked at the stack of sources for this, the biographies, the literary critiques, the Reddit threads, the more it felt like, well, maybe George Orwell was worried about a future that never quite happened.
Or at least not in the way he pictured it.
But Kafka was writing about a reality that we are, I think, living in right now.
It is a bold claim, I know.
Oh,
but the sources really back it up. We have got a stack here ranging from, dense legal philosophy by Giorgio Agamben.
Yeah, that stuff is heavy.
It is. All the way to some very, very sharp observations from the Explain Like I'm 5 community on Reddit. And the consensus is that Kafka isn't just about a guy turning into a giant bug. He is about the architecture of power.
So let's start with that hook, the adjective trap. If you go onto Reddit, specifically those threads trying to parse complex ideas, you see this question pop up constantly. What is the actual functional difference between Orwellian and Kafkaesque?
It's a great place to start because the internet consensus is actually quite sharp on this.
It really is.
The general definition of Orwellian comes, obviously, from George Orwell's 1984.
Yeah.
And the key differentiator there is the intent of the system. An Orwellian system implies a government or a power structure that actively cares what you do.
Right. There is malice there. It's surveillance. It's thought control. It's the boot stamping on a human face forever.
Yes.
The machinery has a purpose, and that purpose is to crush you to maintain power. You are a puppet, and the state is pulling the strings because it demands your absolute loyalty.
Precisely. In Orwell, you are significant because your disobedience is significant. But Kafkaesque, derived from Kafka's novels like The Trial or The Metamorphosis, is fundamentally different.
How so?
In a Kafkaesque system, the machinery doesn't hate you. It doesn't even really care that you exist. It is defined by indifference.
One of the sources used this brilliant analogy that I can't get out of my head.
Oh, what was it?
They said, with Orwell, the government is a predator chasing you. With Kafka, it's like you've been caught in the gears of a giant machine. If you get squished, it's not because the machine hates you. It's just because the gears have to turn and you happen to be in the way.
That is the perfect distinction. It's the difference between a secret police officer interrogating you because you're a revolutionary, that's Orwell,
Right.
and standing in line at the DMV for 6 hours, finally getting to the window and having the person behind the glass look through you, tell you that you have the wrong form, and then call next. Without even blinking.
And the kicker is you never find out what the right form is.
Exactly. You ask what the right form is, and they just point to a wall of 100 identical-looking forms.
It's absurdity versus tyranny. And that is why this matters to you, the listener. We spend a lot of time worrying about tyranny, about the Orwellian boot. But if you look at our actual daily stress levels, how much of it is caused by the Kafkaesque maze, the bureaucracy that has no exit?
I mean, think about trying to call your credit card company or your internet provider.
The phone tree. The endless phone tree.
That is a modern Kafkaesque nightmare.
That is the mission for this deep dive. We're going to explore that maze. We're going to look at the man himself, who was this guy who dreamed up such specific bureaucratic nightmares. We'll look at his 3 big novels, which, spoiler alert, he never actually finished.
Which is, in itself, very Kafkaesque.
It really is. And we are going to get into some surprising territory about the philosophy of law and even the comedy buried in all this gloom.
And we should warn everyone, Kafka is often taught in high school as this depressing doom and gloom prophet.
Oh, absolutely. The ultimate bummer read.
But once you understand the logic of his world, you realize he's actually quite funny in a dark, hysterical, slapstick sort of way.
Okay, let's unpack this. Section 1, The Man and the Machine, Biography as Destiny. Who was Franz Kafka?
Franz Kafka was born in 1883 in Prague. At that time, this was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And if you want to understand his deep, pervading sense of alienation, you have to look at his demographics. The scholars often refer to him as a triple outsider.
Break that down for us. What does that mean in the context of 1880s Prague?
So first, he was Jewish. He lived in a region that was predominantly Christian and, frankly, increasingly anti-Semitic.
Okay, so that's one layer of alienation.
That's layer one. He's already othered by his religion. Second, he was a German speaker. Prague was a Czech-speaking city with a rising tide of Czech nationalism, so he's linguistically isolated from the majority of the population on the street.
So he can't really talk to the common man, and the common man doesn't trust him anyway.
Exactly. He's speaking the language of the imperial administration, not the people. But here is the third layer. Even within the German-speaking community, which was the minority, he wasn't part of the ruling elite or the aristocracy. He was middle class.
So he didn't fit anywhere.
Nowhere. He writes in his diaries about walking through the streets of Prague and feeling like a ghost, like he was floating between these locked communities, never actually permitted to enter any of them.
And that's just the external pressure. On top of that societal isolation, he had home life that sounds, well, stressful is an understatement. We have to talk about his father, Hermann Kafka.
The ultimate father figure. If you read Kafka, you are reading about Hermann.
Really, it's that direct connection.
Oh, it's undeniable. Hermann was a self-made man, a butcher's son, who clawed his way up to become a successful retailer. He is described in the biographies as brash, aggressive, loud, physically imposing a big, broad man with a booming voice, a real force of nature.
And then you have Franz.
Right. Franz was small, sickly, anxious, bookish. He was a hypochondriac. He was a vegetarian. He was everything his father wasn't. And Hermann made sure Franz knew it.
How so?
Hermann would mock his son's interest, belittle his writing, call him weak. There are stories of Hermann making Franz perform exercises in front of him just to try and toughen him up.
Yeah.
Franz felt like a massive disappointment.
There is that famous letter to his father that Kafka wrote. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
It's one of the most incredible documents.
It's essentially a 100-page indictment of his childhood. He literally writes, "My writing was all about you. All I did was complain about you in my books because I couldn't complain to you in person."
And here is the most Kafkaesque detail about that letter. He never sent it.
He didn't.
No. He gave it to his mother to give to his father, and she read it, got scared of what Hermann's reaction would be, and just returned it to him. So the communication never happened.
Wow. A failed delivery. A message that never reaches its destination. That's a theme right there.
It's the central theme. And when you read his fiction, the oppressive authority isn't just the state. It's the father, the judges, the castle officials, the faceless voices on the phone. They're all projections of this looming, unattainable approval he craved from Hermann.
But he didn't just stay in his room writing letters he never sent. He had a day job. And this is the part that I think resonates so much with modern life. We have this image of the tortured artist living in a garret, maybe starving a bit, but Kafka, he was a corporate man.
He was. For 15 years, Franz Kafka was a high-level lawyer at the Workers' Accident Insurance Institute.
An insurance clerk, that is just, it's too perfect. You couldn't make it up.
And he wasn't just stamping papers. He was actually quite good at it. He got promotions. He invented a safer design for a planer machine to reduce injuries.
He was competent. He understood the system.
He understood it intimately. But imagine the environment. He is dealing with the brutal reality of the early industrial age. He is processing claims for workers who have been mangled by machinery, lost fingers, crushed limbs.
So when he writes about machines destroying bodies or the fragility of the human form, he isn't using a metaphor. He's describing his Tuesday afternoon.
Precisely. He saw how the system dehumanized these people. If a worker lost a hand, the system didn't mourn the tragedy or the loss of livelihood. It processed the claim.
Right.
It consulted an actuarial table to determine the monetary value of a right hand, dominant, and cut a check. Kafka saw people reduced to file numbers, to cases.
He called it his double life. Bureaucrat by day, writer by night. He would work these long, exhausting hours, come home, and then write until the early morning. It sounds incredibly draining.
It was. Life is a series of interruptions, he said. He felt his job was this constant grinding force that was both preventing him from writing and at the same time giving him all his material.
Which is probably why he never finished his big novels, The Trial, The Castle. They're all technically incomplete. They just stop.
They do. And that job is where the Kafkaesque style really comes from. It's that blend of horrific content described in a cool, detached, administrative tone. the tone of an insurance report.
All of this, the father, the job, the triple outsider status, it paints a picture of a man under immense psychological pressure.
Immense. And physical pressure, too. He contracted tuberculosis, which eventually killed him at 41. His relationships were a mess. He was engaged twice to the same woman, Fleece Bauer, and broke it off both times. He viewed himself as fundamentally incapable of being a provider or a husband in the way his father expected.
So he felt he failed at everything.
In his own eyes, yes. Which brings us to the burning request. This is the only reason we are having this conversation today.
The ultimate plot twist of literary history.
Absolutely. Kafka is dying, he knows it, and he tells his best friend, Max Brod, burn it all. Everything I've written. Diaries, manuscripts, letters, unread.
And Max Brod, bless him, basically said no.
Or rather, he nodded, waited for Kafka to pass, and then published everything. He completely betrayed his friend's dying wish, and in doing so gave the world one of its most important literary figures.
Can you imagine if he hadn't? We wouldn't have the trial, we wouldn't have the castle, we wouldn't have the metamorphosis, we would just have a few short stories he published in his lifetime. The entire concept of the Kafkaesque hangs on one friend disobeying a dying wish.
It's a staggering thought, and it leads us perfectly into those works that were saved. We have three main case studies here in our source stack, and the first one is the big one. The definitive legal nightmare. The trial.
Let's get into the trial. The premise is so simple, it's terrifying. The protagonist, Joseph K., is arrested one morning, but the first sentence says he was arrested without having done anything truly wrong.
And that's the hook. Without having done anything truly wrong, but the catch, and this is the engine of the whole novel, is that nobody tells him what he's accused of.
Right. If you know you're accused of stealing bread, you can say, I have a receipt. You can build a defense. But here, the accusation is a void. How do you defend yourself against nothing?
You can't. And unlike an Orwellian nightmare where he might be dragged to a torture chamber immediately, Joseph K. is left in this weird limbo. He is under arrest, but he's allowed to go to work at the bank. He's allowed to sleep in his own bed. But this invisible weight is hanging over him.
He has to report to court, but the court isn't in a courthouse. This detail always gets me. Where is the court?
It's in the attic of a dirty tenement building on the other side of town.
An attic?
An attic. He has to knock on doors of poor families to find the courtroom. A woman doing her laundry points him in the right direction.
That creates such a sense of disorientation. It's like the law has infested the architecture of the city like mold.
Yeah.
It's everywhere and nowhere. It's not this grand marbled institution. It's just in the rafters.
And when he gets there, the room is crowded, the air is too thick to breathe, the magistrate just checks his watch. Joseph K. tries to make a speech defending himself, but nobody's really listening. It's theater. Absurd theater.
So he tries to get help. He hires a lawyer. And this lawyer, I feel like anyone who has hired a consultant can relate to this.
The lawyer is a masterclass in uselessness. He's this old, bedridden man who holds court from his sickbed.
He acts like a slave master to his other clients, making them sleep on the floor. But he gets nothing done for Kay. He just writes petitions that he never files.
Right, he talks a big game. He says he has connections, he knows the judges. But it's all just talk. He's part of the system that keeps you entangled, not the system that gets you out.
Tay also visits a painter, Titorelli, who supposedly knows the judges because he paints their portraits.
Yes, and the painter lives in an attic too, surrounded by young girls who are a part of this strange, corrupt court ecosystem.
And the painter breaks down the system for him. He says there are 3 possible outcomes.
Right. Outcome 1, definite acquittal. This is where you are found innocent, the files are burned, and you are free. The case is gone forever.
Sounds great. The dream outcome.
But Titorelli admits he has never seen this happen. It's a myth. It effectively doesn't exist.
Okay, so that's off the table. What are the other options?
Outcome 2, ostensible acquittal.
What does that mean?
It means you are acquitted for now, but the files aren't destroyed. A panel of lower judges signs off on your innocence. You're free to go, but you could be arrested again 5 minutes later for the same crime at any time without warning.
That sounds more stressful than being in jail.
It's a life sentence of anxiety.
Oh,
And then there's outcome 3, indefinite postponement. You just keep the case running forever at the lowest level, filing paperwork to prevent the verdict from ever being reached.
So you are either living in constant fear of immediate rearrest or you are stuck in a forever trial.
Exactly. You are never free. The system isn't designed to find truth. It's designed to process you. It's designed to sustain itself.
And the ending of the trial. It is one of the most brutal scenes in literature.
It really is. It just
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, let's unpack that. Because it's not a formal execution, is it? It's not a firing squad or a hanging.
No. Two men in frock coats and top hats. Kafka describes them looking like old, second-rate actors, come to his house at night on the eve of his 31st birthday.
And they are polite about it.
Terrifyingly polite. They don't use force. They link arms with him. They walk him out of town to a quarry.
And Kay just goes with them. He doesn't fight back. Not really.
He's exhausted by the process. He feels like maybe this is the logical conclusion. And then they do this horrible little ritual
With the knife.
with the butcher knife. They pass it back and forth between them over Joseph K's head, as if they're testing its weight or maybe offering it to him.
They want him to do it himself.
They want him to participate in his own execution, to validate the verdict, to accept the guilt. He doesn't do it. So one holds him while the other stabs him, twice in the heart.
And as he dies, he sees them watching him, and his last words are, like a dog.
Like a dog. That shame, that total loss of dignity.
It's not just death. It's the degradation of the self before an authority you can't understand. It's dying without ever knowing why.
And that why is the core of it all.
Which transitions perfectly to our second case study, where the degradation is literal. The metamorphosis, this is the one everyone knows. Guy wakes up as a bug.
Gregor Samsa. As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect, is one of the most famous opening lines in history.
But the sources point out something really funny. Well, funny in a dark way about his reaction. He wakes up, he has 6 wiggling legs, a hard shell, he's a monster. And what is his first thought?
His first thought is, oh no, I'm going to be late for work. The chief is going to be so angry.
He's not thinking I'm a monster. He's thinking, this is an inconvenience for my employer.
That is the genius of it. It's the economics of existence. The horror isn't the body horror. It's the disruption of his economic utility. Gregor is a traveling salesman. He hates his job. He hates his boss. But he supports his parents and his sister. He's the sole breadwinner.
So his value to the family is purely financial.
And the family's reaction mirrors that. When they see him, they aren't just screaming because he's a bug. They are panicking because the breadwinner is broken. The ATM has stopped dispensing cash.
His boss, the chief clerk, even comes to the house to check on him when he's just an hour late.
Which is such a perfect detail, the absolute surveillance of the workplace. And Gregor is on the other side of the door, this giant insect, trying to modulate his new inhuman voice to sound reassuring.
It's horrifying and kind of hilarious.
It is.
There is a fascinating debate in the sources about the German word Kafka used, Ungeziefer. We translate it as insect or cockroach or vermin, but what does it actually mean?
The etymology is fascinating. Kafka himself was very insistent that it not be drawn as a specific bug. He wanted it to be vague. But the word Ungeziefer essentially means an unclean animal not suitable for sacrifice.
Whoa. Unsuitable for sacrifice.
It implies a total loss of social and even spiritual utility. You can't eat it, you can't work it, you can't even offer it to God. You are just waste, refuse.
And as the story goes on, Gregor becomes exactly that to his family. A burden.
At first, his sister, Greet, takes care of him. She brings him rotten food, because she thinks that's what he'll like now.
But even that care sours into resentment.
It does. They lock him in his room. They start using his room for storage, dumping old furniture in there. He becomes part of the junk.
There is that scene where the father throws apples at him. One gets lodged in his shell and rots there. It's brutal.
It is physical abuse, but it feels like the frustration of a manager dealing with a broken piece of equipment. And eventually, the family decides they have to get rid of it. Greet is the one who says it. We can't go on like this. That thing is not our Gregor.
The moment he loses his economic value, he loses his name. He becomes it.
And hearing this, Gregor just gives up. He crawls back into his room, stops eating, he starves himself, he dies, feeling like he's doing his family a favor.
And the ending is shocking because it's a happy ending for everyone else.
Right. The cleaning lady finds the body, sweeps it up, the family is relieved. They write letters of excuse to their employers. They take a trolley ride out to the country. The sun is shining.
It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. And the parents look at their daughter, Greet, and notice she has blossomed. She's become a beautiful young woman.
They start talking about finding her a husband.
Exactly. The machinery of capitalism re-engages. One cog broke Gregor, so they threw it out. Now they are polishing the next cog, Greet, to take his place. It is a ruthless critique of how conditional love can be when it's tied to economic output.
That is heavy. Let's move to the third one before we all start crying. The castle.
The castle is, in some ways, the most abstract and maybe the most frustrating of the three. It's the study of unreachable authority.
So if the trial is about the law, what is the castle about?
You could say it's about grace, or maybe just legitimacy. A man named Kafkaesque arrives in a village late one snowy night. He claims he's been hired as a land surveyor by the castle up on the hill.
But he can never get into the castle?
Never. The castle is there, you can see it, it's physically present, looming over the village, but the road just winds around it. He can never find the path that leads to it.
So what does he do?
He spends the whole novel trying to get clarification on his job status. Is he really the land surveyor? Who hired him? What is he supposed to do?
And he just gets the runaround.
The ultimate runaround. He gets assistants assigned to him, Arthur and Jeremiah, who are these two identical, useless, and annoying guys who just follow him around and get in his way.
It sounds like a nightmare version of a corporate onboarding.
It's exactly that. He gets phone calls from the castle that are just static or gibberish. He gets messages that are contradictory. He'll get a letter from an official named Clam, but he can never meet Clam in person. Clam is just a name on a piece of paper.
It sounds like the ultimate panopticon, the idea that they are watching you, but you can't see them.
Exactly. It creates a theological or administrative distance. You are down here in the mud, and the truth, or the law, is up there on the hill. You can send messages, you can file appeals, but you never know if they are received. You never get a clear answer. It's the feeling of being put on hold by the universe.
And like the others, it just ends. He never gets in.
It ends mid-sentence. We never find out what happens to Kay.
Okay, so we have the biography, we have the books. Now I want to get into the why. Section 3. The philosophy of law and guilt. We have some heavy hitters in the source stack, specifically the philosopher Giorgio Agamben.
Agamben offers a really fascinating read on the trial. He focuses on the very first sentence, someone must have slandered Joseph K.
Slander. It implies a lie, a false accusation.
Agamben connects it to Roman law. In Roman law, there was a concept called calumnia, false accusation. If you accuse someone falsely, the punishment was that you were branded with the letter K on your forehead.
A literal K.
A literal K for calumnia.
That seems incredibly specific given Kafka's name and his character's name. That can't be a coincidence.
Agamben thinks so too. He suggests that Joseph K. isn't just the victim of the trial. He is the slanderer of himself. The trial is a process of self-slander.
Wait, unpack that. How is he slandering himself? He's the one who was arrested.
In Kafka's world, guilt isn't about what you did. You don't commit a crime and then get punished. Guilt is a state of being. The trial doesn't determine if you are guilty. The trial is the punishment.
So the moment he engages with the court, he loses.
Yes. By hiring a lawyer, by arguing his case, by asking, why me? Joseph K. validates the system. He accepts the premise that this invisible authority has the right to judge him. He internalizes the guilt. By seeking innocence from the court, he is essentially confessing that he believes he might be guilty.
He's slandering his own innate innocence.
Exactly. He's bringing a charge against himself by even showing up.
This reminds me of that parable Inside the Trial Before the Law. This is probably the most famous part of the book. It's like a story within the story.
Oh, this is the key to unlocking the whole philosophy. A priest tells Kay this story in a cathedral. It goes like this. A man from the country comes to a door seeking the law. There was a scary doorkeeper standing there. The man asks to enter. The doorkeeper says, you can't come in right now.
Right now. So there is hope. It's not a no forever.
Exactly. That little bit of hope is the trap. The man sits and waits. He waits for days. Days turn into years. He bribes the doorkeeper with all his possessions. The doorkeeper takes the bribes but says, I'm only taking this so you don't feel you've left anything undone.
But even the bribery is part of the system's game.
It is. The man gets old, frail, and blind. He spends his entire life sitting on a stool outside this door.
And he never tries to just push past him or go around.
No. He respects the prohibition. He accepts the authority of the doorkeeper. Finally, as he's dying, he asks the doorkeeper one last question. He says, everyone seeks the law. How come in all these years no one else has come to this specific door?
And the doorkeeper says,
He leans down and screams in his dying ear, this gate was made only for you. I am now going to shut it. And that gives me chills every time. Made only for you. What does it mean?
There are a million interpretations, but the most powerful one is this. The law has no content. It's purely formal. The door was open the whole time. The only thing stopping the man was his own acceptance of the doorkeeper's authority. The prohibition was the only law there was.
He waited for permission to live his life, and he died waiting.
Agamben calls this the state of exception. The law is in force. It has the power to stop you, but it doesn't say anything other than obey. It's like a parent saying, because I said so, but expanded to the scale of a cosmic government.
And this leads to the idea of bureaucracy as immanence. That's a fancy term, but let's break it down.
It basically means the bureaucracy is everywhere. It's not separate from life. It is life. In Kafka's stories, the court isn't just in the courthouse. It's in the attic. It's in the bedroom. The inspectors are in your house. The separation between public and private dissolves, which feels incredibly relevant today. We carry the bureaucracy in our pockets. Our phones are tracking us. Our work emails follow us to bed. We are never not before the law.
Precisely. The system produces judgments, files, verdicts, data points, credit scores, but it never produces justice. The process is the point. The gears turn because they must turn.
This is getting pretty dark. But you promised me there was comedy here. Section 4. The comedy and the struggle. How on earth is this funny?
It sounds counterintuitive, I know. But Max Brod, again, the friend who saved the manuscripts, reported that when Kafka read the first chapter of the trial to his friends, they laughed out loud, uncontrollably.
Really?
Kafka laughed so hard he had to stop reading because he was crying with laughter.
He was cracking up at his own nightmare.
Because it is the humor of the absurd. Think about Joseph K. He's being arrested, his life is effectively over, and he spends time arguing with the guards about whether they're going to steal his underwear.
Or Gregor Samsa waking up as a monster and worrying about the train schedule.
Exactly. It's slapstick. It's the logic of a dream where you are naked in school, but you are mostly worried that you forgot your pencil. It mimics the banana peel comedy of the universe. The protagonist keeps slipping, but he tries to maintain his dignity. And the gap between the horrifying situation and his mundane reaction is where the comedy comes from.
There is a Reddit thread in our sources where people were comparing it to Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That is a surprisingly accurate comparison. Think about George Costanza. He is constantly trapped in these social rule sets that make no sense, getting more and more frustrated while everyone else acts like it's normal. That feeling of, am I the only sane person here? That is the Kafkaesque comedy.
So it's the humor of powerlessness.
It's the humor of recognizing the absurdity of the rules we live by.
And that leads to an important point about the struggle. Contrary to popular belief, Kafka's characters aren't defeatists. They don't just lay down and die immediately.
No, they're incredibly tenacious. Gregor tries to crawl, he tries to communicate. The hunger artist, in one of his short stories, fasts to the point of death as an act of defiance. Joseph K. argues his case until the very end. K in the castle refuses to leave the village.
So what is the lesson there? If they always lose, why fight?
The lesson, if we look at the source from Fiction Beast, isn't give up. The lesson is that the struggle is the human condition. Even if the maze has no exit, the act of navigating it, of questioning it, of refusing to simply accept it, that defines our humanity.
I struggle, therefore I am.
In a way. And there is a solidarity in that alienation. This is lesson 9 from that source. When we realize we are all stuck in the maze, we are at least stuck together. We are all waiting before the law. And that shared experience is a form of connection.
That is strangely comforting. Let's bring this into the now. Section 5. Kafka in the modern world. We've touched on it, but let's get visual. Kafka is described as very cinematic.
He is. His descriptions are incredibly precise, almost like camera angles. Yeah. The way he describes rooms, the quality of the light, it's all very visual. And filmmakers love him.
You have Orson Welles' adaptation of The Trial, which uses this oppressive, brutalist architecture to make you feel small and overwhelmed.
A brilliant film. Welles understood that the environment is a character in Kafka.
But then you have movies that aren't adaptations, but are totally Kafkaesque. Brazil by Terry Gilliam is probably the best example.
Oh, Brazil is the ultimate Kafka movie. The whole plot starts because a fly falls into a teleprinter, causes a typo on an arrest warrant, Tuttle becomes a Buttle, and an innocent man is killed during an interrogation.
And the rest of the movie isn't about the murder. It's about the main character, a low-level bureaucrat, trying to fix the refund check for the widow.
It represents the system perfectly. The tragedy is irrelevant. The paperwork must be balanced. Or look at After Hours by Martin Scorsese.
Just one guy trying to get home in New York City, and the universe just keeps throwing absurd obstacles in his way. He loses his money, the subway fare goes up overnight, he gets trapped in an apartment, he's mistaken for a burglar.
It's a series of Escalating illogical nightmares.
The Coen brothers are great at this too. A Serious Man is basically the Book of Job meets Kafka. A physics professor whose life falls apart for no reason, and he keeps seeking an answer from the rabbis, but the rabbis are unavailable or speak in riddles.
Yes. Or Barton Fink,
Yeah.
the writer trapped in the hotel room, unable to write.
And let's not forget body horror. The Fly, that loss of autonomy, the betrayal of your own flesh, that connects right back to the metamorphosis.
It does. But I think the reason this resonates so much right now isn't just about movies. It's about our digital reality. You mentioned algorithms earlier.
We live in the age of the faceless bureaucracy. Think about when you get locked out of your Google account or your bank account.
That is the modern trial. You try to log in. It says suspicious activity.
Yeah.
You call a number. You get a robot. You enter a code. It says invalid. You try to find a human. You can't.
There is no human. You are arguing with a decision tree. You are pleading your case to a machine that has already judged you.
You are under arrest by the algorithm. You haven't done anything wrong, but you are cut off from your email, your photos, your money. You are effectively banished, and there's no court to appeal to.
Or the gig economy. You are an Uber driver or a TaskRabbit. You are only valuable as long as you are productive.
Exactly. You are Gregor Samsa. If your car breaks down or you get sick or your customer rating drops below 4.6 for reasons you don't understand, the app deactivates you. The app doesn't hate you. It doesn't have emotions. It just needs the gears to turn.
We have built a world that is incredibly efficient at processing data, but very bad at handling humanity. We are all living in the castle's shadow.
And we can see it, but we can't get in to talk to the person in charge.
So as we wrap this up, let's synthesize this. We started with Orwell versus Kafka.
Orwell warned us about a state that hates us, a state that wants to break us because it demands total loyalty. It's a hot, angry dystopia filled with passion and malice.
And Kafka warned us about a cold one.
Kafka warned us about a state that ignores us, a state that is so complex, so vast, and so indifferent that we break ourselves trying to navigate it. He warned us about the indefinite postponement of our own lives.
And I think looking around, the Kafkaesque danger is the more subtle one. It's the more common one in our day-to-day lives.
Absolutely. We might spot the boot coming. We might not spot the terms of service update that locks us out of our digital lives.
Precisely. And the value of this deep dive isn't to make you depressed. It's to give you the vocabulary.
Right.
When you are stuck on hold for 3 hours or you are filling out a form that asks for a document you can't get without filling out another form, you can say, I am at the gate of the law, and the doorkeeper is not going to let me in.
It validates the frustration.
Yeah.
You aren't crazy. The system is absurd.
Right. It gives you a name for that specific kind of institutional madness. Now, here's a final provocative thought for the listener. We have talked a lot about the system doing this to us, the government, the corporation, the algorithm. But Agamben had that point about self-slander.
This is the uncomfortable mirror.
It is. Consider the idea that we are the bureaucrats in our own lives. Do we create Kafkaesque mazes for ourselves?
How so?
Do we impose rules on our own happiness that are impossible to meet? I will be happy only when I achieve X, Y, and Z. And by the time we get there, we've moved the goalposts.
So we put ourselves in a state of indefinite postponement of our own satisfaction.
Exactly. Are we the man from the country standing before a door that is actually open, waiting for permission to live our own lives?
Or are we the doorkeepers, blocking others? It's worth thinking about. In our own little spheres of influence, at work, in our families, are you grinding the gears or are you the one building the machine?
That is something to chew on. Listen, if you want to dip your toe into Kafka without committing to a whole novel, pick up The Metamorphosis. It's short, it's weird, and it will change how you look at your next sick day.
Absolutely. It's a perfect, haunting little machine of a story.
Stay curious, keep reading, and don't let the paperwork grind you down. We'll see you in the next deep dive.